Hello everyone and welcome back to Knowing Wheel episode 55. Yes, it's a Carlos Sainz special edition this week. Of course, it's the Spanish Grand Prix as well, so we thought, we'll line this up. So episode 55.
Yeah, that was planned from the very beginning.
It was absolutely planned right from the get-go. But, of course, as you would have now already heard, as always, we're joined by Jamie183. How we doing, mate?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, good to be here. And got a little bit of stuff to go over before the Spanish Grand Prix.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, so we kind of decided, there wasn't a huge amount of news between the last Grand Prix in Miami and the Spanish Grand Prix this weekend. We have got a few little bits and pieces to get through, so timestamps will be down below. So we also kind of decided today, where this is the last, or the Miami Grand Prix was the last solo race by itself, unless Russia doesn't get replaced this year, we thought now would be a good time to do a bit of a tier list so far for our 2022 drivers. But of course, before we jump into that though, links to everything will be featured down below. If you're interested in checking out Bybit, definitely worth a check out for them. Obviously, we've then also got the Clips channel, Manscaped, F1 merch as well, of course. If you want to check out some of the lines from there, they did have quite a big sale going on over the last couple of weeks, but that might now be over at the time of recording this, but always still some good lines to check out over there. Jamie is my PA. Have I forgot anything to mention?
Spotify.
Spotify, yes, was the big one. I knew I was forgetting something very important. A massive thank you to all of you guys for the continued support on Spotify. If you're not already, please go give us a follow over there as well, if you prefer listening to your podcast without getting to see Jamie and I think both pretty tired faces.
I wouldn't blame you.
On a Monday night. No, we would not. At the end of the day there. I just want to say as well a quick thank you now for 46,000 subscribers. Less than 4,000 to go before 50k. My maths almost failed me there. But I think we've got through all of sort of the normal pre-podcast stuff, Jamie. Do we want to get into the nitty-gritty today?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go with it. Are we going with tier list first, or are we just going through our quick news bits first?
I reckon we do the news first.
It's time for the news.
Why have we not done that before? That's a great idea.
Well,
just rip off Top Gear.
Let's do the news.
Yeah.
What of you can you tell me about the all-new Dacia Sandero then, Jamie?
It's good news. No, let's move on. Spain are... Yeah, I haven't seen a source for this. It is good news. Spain are trying to get rid of the final chicane.
Yes.
Which everyone's basically hated unanimously since it got brought in.
Yep, and do you remember which year it got brought in?
2007.
Yes! I'm very impressed.
Because I've just been watching through season reviews, because that's how fun my life is.
That was a cry for help.
So, yeah, it's going back to, I assume, just a flat second last corner, flat final corner. Although back in 2006 and prior it wasn't flat, because obviously the cars were not as good in the corners as they are now.
No.
But yeah, the reason why it was changed in the first place was for safety and weirdly to try and boost overtaking opportunities. But yeah, it didn't really achieve the second one of those. I think it definitely was safer, but now the cars are a lot safer than they were in 2006 and prior. The safety isn't really a consideration anymore because
that's a very dark statement.
Yeah, but the safety isn't an issue in that particular corner versus any other.
I know what you mean.
So they can go back to how it was without any real worries. That's a mouthful.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, originally as well, the big reason why it actually got changed was motorbike racing. But yeah, obviously the circuit owners, after Turn 10 last year got reprofiled, I think we kind of hoped that would make a bigger difference than it did, but unfortunately it kind of made one of the only other overtaking places on the track even less of an overtaking place because the braking zone was less. But obviously they've now sort of said... the track, they want to put a lot of money into it, and they want to make the entire circuit now FIA Grade 1, including those final two corners, or what would now become the final two corners. So I think we'd probably see motorbikes still using one of the chicanes, but I always wondered as well why F1 used the second chicane rather than the first one. Because at least even then, it gave you an extra 15 metres of sort of run back down out of the final corner.
Unfortunately, it does look like Catalonia's here to stay. There was a lot of rumours that it wasn't going to be on the grid for much longer.
Went,
yeah. But now, because Sainz has found itself at a top team, and Alonso's obviously here until 2030, apparently. It's not going to go anywhere. So, unfortunately, we're stuck with Catalonia. I think they should just clean up Valencia and go back there.
I mean, Valencia, actually, I think we kind of look at that with far more nostalgia than it ever really deserved, don't we?
No, there was one good race, but it just happened to be the last race there.
Yes.
So
But the race before that was, I think, the first Grand Prix ever with no overtakes at all, wasn't it?
That's not true. That's not true. I know that stat. That's not true.
Is that
they
not
had one. Button overtook Rosberg for 4th.
When?
Lap 6 or something. It was very early on. But
right, okay, that saves
here's
it
a fun story. I got F1 TV, which I'm sure most people know what it is.
Yeah.
You get access to all the old races, most of them, or like at first anyway. When I got it, it was only supposedly good races that they had in full.
Yes, yeah.
So you could only watch certain races that were deemed worthy of going on in full.
And did they have Valencia 2011?
No, it wasn't this. It was the week before Monaco, whatever year it was. I can't remember. So I was like, oh, I'll just watch some old Monaco races, get myself hyped a bit. I chose Monaco 2004. No, 2003, I think. And I was like halfway through the race. It was quite dull. And I did some research, and Monaco 2003 is the most recent race that has no overtakes after lap 1. And it's deemed worthy of going on there as a classic Monaco race.
I mean, I'm trying to think, because when you said 2004, of course, I thought that was,
that was
the
really
1
good.
in 14 races Schumacher didn't win in a row, wasn't it? That stopped him from
03
destroying the
was
Seb
Montoya,
record.
I think.
03 was Montoya. I was going to say,
maybe it
let's
was
be
02.
fair, if you want to chuck a classic Monaco Grand Prix on there, you've just put 1996 out.
2011, in my opinion.
2011 was another good shout, but 96 was
But Monaco is next
something
week,
else.
so we'll get back to this.
We will, yeah, I was going to say, we've jumped the gun there slightly. Somehow we've gone from the Spanish final 2 corners to Monaco.
Yeah, well, it's quite similar. Really.
Similar
The current
vibes.
configuration, isn't it?
I mean, that's really the only reason why the Spanish Grand Prix's been on the calendar for the last few years, so teams could work out who was going to be OP at Monaco a week later by just looking at the final sector times. But yeah, let's try and rein it back in then, Jamie. Back to Spain. Yeah, I mean, if they did get... I think if they were going to try and make the final 2 corners FIA Grade 1 again, I'd imagine what we might see is... Say that rather than having 2 90-degree corners, the first one be like 60 degrees, but a little bit earlier. So say, for example, the apex would be at the same point it is now, and then you kind of head out towards the outside wall in towards the final corner.
Yeah, and then have a bit of sharper turn with a bit of a braking zone.
Yeah. Even well, I mean, I don't even think you'd have to brake still.
You wouldn't have to, no.
Or if you would, it would only be sort of a blend, wouldn't it? It might be down 1 gear.
Yeah.
Because the only reason why that final corner is tricky now is just because you're trying to get on the throttle from low speed.
And it's like... Yeah, back like 06, prior to the chicane being put in, it was quite difficult to take flat.
Especially
like,
with grooved tyres, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, it was quite a challenge trying to take the speed onto the straight, which, if anything, made it a better overtaking point into turn 1. Because... Like, it was whoever could take the most speed through the final corner.
Exactly. And I mean, especially now, obviously, we can look at a lot of these things and go, well, now we've actually got cars that can stay close together. It does open up a lot of possibilities on a lot of circuits, doesn't it? If they'd said this last year, we would kind of gone, can't really do a lot with it anyway.
No. Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll wait and see about that one, though, again. You know, whether that's just the circuit hosts trying to build up some hype around it and they're actually looking at it going, there's no way we can do this.
I don't expect a huge amazing race to be fair this weekend.
No, exactly. I mean, we'll do predictions, I think, at the end of the podcast, won't we? Other big news, though, this week, Nick de Vries is getting a young driver practice test with Williams, and that has upset a lot of people, myself included.
Because he's 27. Which is probably older than half the grid.
It's got to be close, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, looking at it, yeah, he's got to be...
So, yeah, looking at what's on my screen right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
Jamie can
12.
learn how to count.
13 drivers De Vries is older than.
You've got 13 there, have you? Fair enough. Let's see. It must
Maybe,
have been about...
I was
going
wrong
to say
about
it must
Ocon,
be...
or something like that, but yeah.
Yeah. No, because Ocon was only 19 in 2016, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was a long time ago, though. So
Well, 6 years ago, Jamie. So, funnily enough, he'd be 25 now, was kind
That's
of my
true.
logic
That's
there.
yeah, so basically, De Vries is really old.
Yes,
but
back
to
to
be
the
fair,
point.
he does. I think deserves a shot at least.
Oh,
Like he can't do.
He won
like
a pretty.
back in F2.
He won a pretty dead F2 campaign though, didn't he?
did.
After being there for quite a while.
But the year before, which was the Russell Norris Albon year,
Yeah.
he did finish 4th basically on the same amount of points. as those three.
Well, George Russell dominated that year.
Yeah, but he wasn't far behind Albon and Norris.
But to be
But
fair,
he was a bit older.
I was going to say, he's only, a year older than Albon, but he was about 4 years older than Norris, and Norris
And he had a lot of experience left too.
Yeah, he'd already been there a couple of years at that point. So the fact, he was losing to, let's be fair, Lando Norris was only 18 at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And Nick de Vries must have been, 24?
That would have been 2018. So yeah, he's been 23.
23, 24, yeah. So
yeah. So yeah, I think if he were to get a seat, he wouldn't be the worst driver on the grid.
No.
Unless he replaced Latifi. But yeah, he's not that exciting, especially when you got Oscar Piastri, who we absolutely adore.
This podcast ends up just being an Oscar Piastri stan account for about an hour a week, but still. I mean, that probably, Jamie, leads us quite nicely into our next talking point, though. I guess we can wrap into this. We had a bit of a weird Twitter drama this week, didn't we? Where some random journalist from Canada...
not even related to F1.
Not even related to F1. alleged that Latifi had been dropped by Williams. And like we said, he had no source. He wasn't a Formula 1 journalist. And then about 3 hours later, come out saying he was wrong. And you're there like, what was the point in that whole ordeal?
Yeah, he was basically annoyed that, is it like Vancouver's own Nicholas Latifi or wherever he's from?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Ontario? I don't even know. Is Ontario in Canada?
Yes.
I think, it might be that. But wherever he's from, he was like, Ontario's own Nicholas Latifi fired from Williams' F1 team.
Yeah.
And replaced by Nick de Vries, supposedly. But, yeah, it was absolute rubbish. So,
yeah, I mean...
no idea what that was about.
No, we've kind of seen rumours, haven't we, recently, apparently Piastri, they're trying to look towards putting him in the car as well.
Well, you always get to this kind of time of the year and people are like, the reigning F2 type champion who didn't get a seat should get a seat.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
again, we'll discuss this a lot more in just a minute, won't we, when we get into the tier list. But I think we can safely say now Latifi's going in the bottom tier. I mean, it's not really hiding any shame. But I don't think he's going to survive another year. And I think he might make it to the end of this year. But if Williams want to be a serious team again, Albon's delivered the goods so far. But Latifi has got to go.
I think so.
Yeah. We'll wait and see about that, though. Like we said, we'll talk about that in just a moment. I think the last big piece of news then, Jamie, is apparently Ferrari are meant to be bringing Ferrari and Aston Martin, are meant to be bringing even more upgrades this weekend. Ferrari's apparently going to give them about 3/10. Aston Martins are a bit more controversial, though, aren't they?
Yeah. They're laying down the gauntlet. I remember how much it was they said that they were going to gain, but they think it's like basically a B-spec car.
Yeah.
But only for Lance Stroll this race.
Yes.
Which is quite funny.
I mean, it's again, like we say it every week, aren't we? We're not Aston Martin fans. We just sort of laugh in the background going, it's whatever thing they do, people are unhappy.
It's like when you're playing like school football and your dad's the coach and he just puts you number 10 every week.
Yes,
That's basically what Lance Stroll's living. So.
I mean, it's a good life, to be fair. But again, like a few people have said, Stroll has been in the car more this year. Perhaps he could give better feedback to the team.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll probably crash it, but...
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's true. Or Magnussen will come and find him and crash into him.
Oh, that
like
was...
he was doing the last 10 laps of Miami.
Both Aston Martins and both Haskell's last week decided they were going to crash the shit out of each other. Was what happened late on in the afternoon. But, I mean, going back to the Ferrari upgrades, though, again, of course, Mattia Binotto, Harry Potter himself, has kind of said, so far this year, Red Bull have been piling on the upgrades, everything like that. Now it's Ferrari's turn. What are the bets this upgrade's going to make the car slower?
True Ferrari style. It's been a while since one of them, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, if it does gain in 3/10, that would put them quite clear at the top because
I wouldn't say quite clear.
Arguably, Red Bull have a slightly faster car as of Miami.
Yeah.
But not by more than 1/10, I don't think.
I'd say, I was going to say between 1/10 and 2/10 at most. And even that sort of changes around with track temperature and things like that.
Yeah, so there's a long way to go in the season. Of course, if Ferrari do smash it, then Red Bull have just got their own upgrades coming. So it's not, it won't define the season unless it's suddenly like a second quicker, it won't happen.
And I mean, to be fair, Spain and Monaco both should be Ferrari tracks anyway.
They should be based on this season so far. Which is weird. like we said last week.
Yeah, all the
traditionally Red
big
Bull have been
three,
a
the
slow
roles
team
are
on the straight.
reversed. Yeah, very strange. But I mean, like I said, we'll talk about that later on in the show. Shall we get then, Jamie, into our tier list?
Yeah, we shall.
Now, how do we want to do this? Do we want to do it based on Drivers' Championship, Reverse Drivers' Championship?
I reckon reverse constructors, if that's not too confusing for you.
I mean, you're going to have to get up the list for constructors.
I think, do we not know it? I think I know it.
Probably.
Well, Williams a bottom?
Yes. Yeah, because they've got like 3 points. I mean,
so let's start with Williams.
Okay.
I've got it up. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, Alex Albon. What do we think?
Alex Albon. Now,
I think he's been pretty alright.
this is kind of a tier list, but also a mini sort of first 5 race review, isn't it? Yeah. Alex Albon. I think before the season, I thought, well, this is a big step sideways for Williams. Who on earth decides they're going to make a Dams tribute team?
I would say backwards. I think everyone basically agrees.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. But I saw, in comparison to who else they were looking at, it kind of seemed like a step sideways. It didn't seem like a particularly brilliant move. Albon, though, fair play. Outside of a Red Bull, he's delivered the goods. Now, he's got a pretty low baseline to go up against. We're not going to hide away from that. And there's always the speculation, though, maybe, say you stick a George Russell or a Hamilton or a Verstappen in that car, how much more could they get out of it? But he's done pretty well so far.
He has, and it's been a good little knack of like doing well in the races where no one finishes.
He's been there, hasn't he?
Points.
He's been there to pick up the pieces, and that's important when you're a team like Williams still.
Yeah, and they're quite unlucky to be bottom of the championship, I think. Actually, are they? I mean, they've probably got the slowest car.
They don't seem to be able to get qualifying sorted, which again is like the opposite of last year.
Yeah.
They don't seem to have a qualifying car.
But they're always kind of there or thereabouts in the race in terms of the bottom.
Yeah, they're there, aren't they?
They're never cut off like they were back in 2019 and stuff.
Or at least Albon isn't. Latifi sometimes is still. But I mean, again, they probably, like we said, have probably got the slowest car still. Not by a lot. And especially, obviously, in race trim, it seems to be a lot closer to everyone else. Qualifying, they're a good sort of 2-3 tenths away, aren't they, most weeks?
Yeah.
But in the race trim, they're doing pretty well. And like we said, Albon, he scored 100% of that team's points. He's had a good little run of form recently.
I think he's 5 up on qualifying.
Yeah, he's got to be 5-0.
Is it 4-0? How many races have there been?
5. He's got to be. No, he must be 4-1 because of Australia.
Oh, he got disqualified from one of them, didn't he?
Yeah, and he still scored points that weekend.
Yeah, and cost you someone out if I'm fantasy, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he did screw me in fantasy as well. I had forgot about that, but thank you for the reminder. Albon, you're going in the bin, mate.
No, I think a B tier.
I was going to say exactly the same. Albon has been a solid B tier driver. You don't expect him to get a call up to a big team because of it, but he's done everything Williams need, especially after they lost George Russell.
Yeah.
And that quite nicely compares to Nicholas Latifi, who...
Yeah, and he has taken a massive step backwards this year. Because towards the end of last year, obviously over the whole season, he was not really close to Russell at all.
No.
But by the end, did he not out-qualify Russell 2 of the last 3 races or something?
He did out-qualify him in Brazil, didn't he?
Yeah. So he was getting closer to what Russell was doing. We're like, okay, maybe he's become respectable.
Yeah.
And then this year, he just has stopped. So
I mean, it really started at the end of last year, didn't it?
Yeah, because that was such an unforced error, which handed Max the title, which we absolutely love. But yeah, still, it was such a poor showing.
And
I can understand why it knocked his confidence completely, but yeah, it's a big sport, isn't it? You got to just pick yourself up and get on with it.
Exactly. Especially when Dad is writing the checks for you still. I mean, he's not this year's version of Mazepin, because obviously we hated Mazepin for a lot of reasons, both inside and outside of the sport. But I mean, Latifi's only sort of personality trait as well on the grid is, hey, I like Nutella. I'm the fun Canadian that everybody loves. And you're sort of there like, he's just not delivering, is he?
Yeah, I think if there is a bin tier, he's in it.
He's got to be. He has been the worst driver on the grid so far this year. Yeah. Stacked it in in Jeddah 3 times? Twice? 3 times?
Twice? Yeah, one on each day, wasn't it? One Saturday, one Sunday.
Yeah.
Both completely unforced.
Him and Stroll had their weird incident in Australia.
Yeah. He crashed in Bahrain, did he not? Or he didn't finish it?
Did he not finish Bahrain? I thought he
Or
did.
he did something stupid, didn't he?
Did he?
I'll do some research real quick.
Did he not finish Bahrain?
Oh no, he did. He did finish.
I thought he finished Bahrain. Yeah. Australia then again, just obviously after the crash with Stroll on Saturday, he was basically nowhere Sunday.
Yeah.
Imola again, nowhere. And
Yeah.
then Miami, like we spoke about last week, he was way off the pace for a lot of the afternoon. And I think, like we said, if someone's going bin tier, it's got to be Nicholas Latifi at the end of the day. There's no point having a bin tier if no one's going in it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And if we were going to put our money on anyone not being in the sport next year, it would be Nicholas Latifi.
Yeah. So moving on to Aston Martin.
Yes. 3
And
drivers.
there's 3 drivers to do, which is always fun. Should we start with Hulk?
We'll start with Hulk.
And I think he was all right. He wasn't great, but he didn't stack it or have awful pace. So, yeah, obviously I love Hulkenberg, so I'm going to be biased. But I think a nice little C would be nice for him.
I think C tier is... I was worried you were going to say B then. I think a C tier is completely fair. Came in very short notice.
He did what you could expect from a reserve driver, basically.
Yeah. Came in with pretty much no notice, of course, after Seb got COVID. Had no prior testing in the car. Had probably an Aston Martin car that they didn't really understand either. It was not good over those first couple of races. And nearly scored points, didn't he, in Jeddah?
Yeah, he came 12th, 13th, 11th or 12th, wasn't it?
Got a bit lucky because everyone started taking each other out at the end. But yeah still, it's what you'd expect from a standard.
And he out-qualified Stroll.
He
with
did.
A day's notice in Bahrain.
Yeah, which isn't that impressive when you remember how bad Stroll is at qualifying, generally.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Jamie's going to try and claim that still. Lance Stroll, then. Where do we sit on Sir Lance?
It's a weird one. We've gone over Aston Martin so many times, it feels like, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's been inoffensive, but still not great.
No.
I think is the best way to describe. In terms of points, so Seb's got 4?
4. Lance has got
And
1, hasn't he? Has he got 2, has he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did still score a point, didn't he, at Miami?
Yeah.
Despite him and K-Mag just trying to crash into each other all afternoon.
The whole time.
Imola, again, we keep going back to this, don't we? We completely sort of wrote Aston Martin off before Imola, and he had a solid weekend there. Wasn't quite the same as Seb, but still got the job done at the end of the day. Australia was a bit of a disaster show, to be honest.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Then Jeddah as well. He got involved in a late race incident, didn't he? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, he took out Albon.
Yes, yeah, down at Turn 1, wasn't it?
Hulk up 2 positions, yeah.
Yeah, and then Bahrain before that again. Aston Martin were pretty much nowhere.
Yeah.
So, do we say he's delivered worse than Hulk so far this year? I remember he's a full-time driver.
In terms of expectation, I mean, 2 points isn't that bad.
No.
In that car. But then, yeah, I don't know what D tier is for, because I can't think of anyone who's going to be lower than that.
I can think of one.
I think C. You're not putting Joe in there.
No. I can think of someone else that's probably
that's
deserving
fine.
of D tier.
Let's stick Stroll in C.
We're putting Stroll in C as well. We'll put him below Hulkenberg then, shall we?
All right.
He hasn't delivered as well as Hulk so far. And then we move up to Sebi Boy. Obviously, only he's done the 3 races this year. After Australia, we were both very worried, weren't we?
Him.
We did rinse him. And he pretty much immediately sort of threw that back in our faces. I don't know if Seb watches the podcast. If you do, mate, and you want to come on at some point and just hurl abuse at us for an hour, we would be down for that. By all means. He was on Question Time last week. Did a fantastic job on there.
Yeah,
I think Seb...
I think Australia, what happened there?
He crashed on Friday, he crashed on Saturday, he crashed on Sunday. It was a disaster.
Yes. And then he came back and got 8th in Imola when he could have been better. He was quite unlucky towards the end. Could have been 7th at least, I think.
Yeah, but again,
in terms
bad
of
car
pace back then, yeah, that was so good. And then Miami probably would have got points if Mick Schumacher didn't blow him up.
Definitely would have got more points in Miami.
Yeah. So, should we be kind to Seb?
I think Seb's B tier.
Yeah, I think he's been better than the other 2 Aston Martin drivers in terms of...
Exactly.
Yeah, if you discount Australia, he's definitely been very good.
He could have possibly been A tier if he'd scored points as well at Australia. But
yeah, but that was such a disaster class.
It was not great. And obviously, again, we can make excuses from time to time, but he's been in the sport for 15 years. You kind of hope 2 races out you'll be able to jump back in and do a bit better than that. But I think B tier is fair. Which team is up next then, Jamie? Is it Haas? Yeah.
Who are 8th. Who should not be 8th. So we'll start with Mick Schumacher. Because he is the sole reason why they're not higher.
Yep.
And he needs to pick it up very fast.
Desperately fast.
He's still not scored a point.
Nope. One of 2 drivers.
Arguably the 5th fastest car, I want to say. At points, it's been 4th or 5th, but overall, probably maybe 6th.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Magnussen has scored all the points in that team after having a year and a half out and no preparation. So, yeah, Mick Schumacher, it's made me realise, I don't know about you, but it's made me realise just how bad Mazepin was last year.
Yes.
Because Schumacher trounced him, and now he's going up against a semi. And Magnussen, historically, isn't actually that good. Like,
in a car that suits him, Magnussen can be pretty decent.
Yeah, but he was never, like, top.
No.
So the fact that Schumacher trounced Mazepin and is now getting demolished by someone who's average, maybe slightly above average at best, it's not good for Mazepin. It's not good for Schumacher either at a minute.
It's not great for either, is it?
Yeah.
And I mean, this was
He's
kind of what we were
qualifying.
Yeah, this is kind of what we were worried about last year, wasn't it? We sort of said, Mick's got no baseline to go up against. We were kind of rating him as like a mid-spec driver because we had nothing to base it on. But this year, it's kind of been not exposed as such because he is still young, he is still learning. But especially in Miami, you can definitely tell now the pressure is on for Mick and he's feeling it.
Yeah.
Again, though, I think we always talk about the Mick Schumacher second season, don't we? Obviously, hasn't really been able to come into full effect in F1 this year because, of course, it's completely new regs. So if he does keep his seat for next year, I think we could see him come back a lot stronger. But that's not how you run a Formula 1 career. That's not how you have longevity in the sport.
You've got to hit the ground running.
Exactly. You've got to be able to adapt pretty quickly. I think if we get to the summer break and he's right with Magnussen, fair play to him. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But
he outqualified Magnussen in Miami and probably could have got points if Alonso didn't cheat.
And then he took Seb out.
Yeah, but that was on him, but it was like a direct consequence of him losing DRS of Alonso because he just couldn't bother doing a tight section. But yeah, he needs to pick it up. I think D for the Mick. I think
he's perfect for D tier at the moment. Hasn't quite been as shocking as Latifi, although did have that massive crash at Jeddah, which I mean, to be fair, Jeddah, he might have scored points there had he been able to race.
That was a driver error. I think that's on him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. But I'm just saying, that car was quick enough that weekend that it would have been a good test for him to see where he could have got it.
And he stacked it under the first bit of pressure that he had. So
got a bit unlucky with the curb design as well, but a mistake's a mistake, and I completely
everyone
agree
else
with
did
you.
that curve in Q1 and didn't crash.
Well, yeah, okay. K-Mag next, of course, isn't it?
Yes.
What a return it has been for the K-Mag.
He's been quality.
He has been.
Until he just started crashing into Stroll every lap in Miami.
Yeah, but would you not if you had the option?
Well, yeah, I suppose I probably would. But yeah, Bahrain especially was the highlight, really. He's got 15 points in total.
Yep.
10 of those came in the first race.
Yep. Battle that out with the Mercs.
Yeah. He has been, like, just so good on his comeback, which I think it's a surprise for everyone. He was kind of like the feel-good story from Bahrain and Saudi, wasn't he?
Yeah. All the hype was around the K-Mag.
Yeah. And it's tailed off a little bit since then, but the car is not, in terms of pecking order, it's probably dropped a bit since then as well.
But
still, he's been very good.
Haas are always weird, aren't they? They seem to be able to work out how to set up the car immediately, and then you kind of realise that they don't have as good a car as a lot of other teams around them as soon as everyone else works out how to set their car up. I mean, 2016, they had a fantastic debut until they've got to put wheels on. 2017...
No, 2016 they just did do
2016, well. Sorry, they did do well, didn't they? Or Grosjean did.
They got 6th in Australia and 5th in Bahrain.
2017, they were actually on pace with Red Bull, weren't they?
Grosjean was 6th in Australia as well until his engine cooked.
Yeah.
He had to retire.
And then 2018 again, they were pretty much on pace with Haas. With Red Bull, weren't they?
Red Bull.
And then, just forgot to put the wheels on the car.
You thinking A or B?
I'm thinking low end A so far for the
I
K-Mag.
think, yeah, that's probably fair enough.
I think,
Absolute
especially
fantasy Hall of Famer as well.
yeah, if he'd
Carrying
if
everyone's
he'd
teams.
spent last year in the sport and he'd done this, he probably would have been B. But the fact he's come in and delivered, I think is worthy of A tier at the moment. Is it Alpha?
Yeah.
No, it must be Alpine.
It's AlphaTauri.
It is AlphaTauri in 7th.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a really weird one this year because it's so hard to read what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. And again, this is just how difficult the midfield is, isn't it, this year?
Yeah.
But
Because they haven't really done much. Like, there's nothing really notable other than, I'll argue, the Tsunoda points in Imola were very good.
yes. Yeah. That was what I was going to say.
Gasly was going to get points in Bahrain as well until he got caught fire.
Yeah.
And probably Miami as well until Alonso took him out. So he's been quite unlucky.
Gasly has been very unlucky, as proven by the fact Tsunoda's got most of the team's points, hasn't he?
Tsunoda has 10, Gasly has 6.
Yeah.
But then Gasly's retirement in Bahrain probably cost him at least 4.
Yeah.
And also gave Tsunoda an extra 2.
Yeah, Gasly could easily be sort of on 14 points and it would knock Tsunoda back slightly as well.
But the drivers...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Both drivers have not done badly, though, have they? All
no,
things considered.
they've been completely okay, but it's hard to be notable in that car. Like last year, Gasly could just stick it top 6 on the grid every race with no problems.
Yeah.
And it would be like, wow, he's really good. This year, the car just isn't quite there.
No.
So, yeah, it's been hard to read. And
I think it's helped by the fact, isn't it, that Tsunoda's seemingly driving with a lot more confidence as well. You know, he spoke a lot over the winter about how his first year in Formula 1, like I think we said last year, he probably wasn't ready yet on so many levels. You know, he spoke about fitness. He wasn't fit enough for Formula 1.
Yeah.
Everything like that. It seems like now he's sort of gone away over the winter, knows what to expect now, and is delivering a whole lot better, which on the one hand is making him look a lot faster, but is also perhaps making Gasly not look as much of a world beater as he once was.
I've got a little head-to-head on my second monitor.
I was saying, I think Gasly's still like 4-1, isn't he?
In terms of qualifying, it is 4-1 to Gasly.
Yeah. But
I'm looking at average grid position and average race result. Gasly is 3 better on the grid position.
Yeah.
And 1 better on race result when you're classified. So, yeah, I think Tsunoda has been quite lucky to be outscoring Gasly at the minute, but he's done definitely better than he was last year.
A bit like Albon, he's done the job, hasn't he?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah. So, do you think B for both?
I think both drivers are worthy of B tier at the moment.
Because, yeah.
I think they...
I think Gasly's been less looking to made look good as he was last year almost.
Yeah.
But he's still delivering very well. It's just not got the points to show for it.
Exactly, and like we said, he's kind of been a little bit screwed, hasn't he? The fact Tsunoda's really got his act together, so it's making Gasly not look as OP anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Tsunoda, we spoke about this pre-season, didn't we? You know, this is Tsunoda's year to prove himself.
Yeah.
And so far, fair play to the kid. He's actually, and I can call him a kid because he's younger than me, which is still alarming.
He's not younger than me.
He isn't younger than you, though, no.
By a day. There we go. We take it.
But fair play to both drivers. I think, you know, they could still get a little bit more, but I do worry that the AlphaTauri is just kind of going to go backwards this year, and then they're both going to not look as good as they probably deserve.
Yeah. Next up is Alpine, and this is a really weird one.
Yes. It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, because in terms of points, we've got Ocon on 24 and Alonso on 2.
Yep.
But then, if you look at quali, it is, 3-2 to Alonso.
Yes.
One of those. Did Ocon get into Q3 in Australia?
No.
Was that? No.
Don't think so, did he? He might have done, actually.
Australia, let's find out.
I'm trying to remember now.
No, he did, yeah. So it's technically 4-1, because Alonso was definitely going to out-qualify Ocon in Australia as well.
Should have put a seal on the car.
Oh, yeah, because he does that himself, doesn't he? You're an absolute Alonso hater, so I'm taking this. So, yeah, Alonso's been incredibly unlucky this season.
He has been very unlucky, and let's not also forget, a cheat.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Bahrain came 9th, just behind Ocon was 7th, fair play. Ocon did better there.
Yep.
Saudi, Alonso was beating Ocon and then retired.
Well, they had that fantastic battle, didn't they?
Yeah.
Early on.
And then Alonso won out and then his car broke down.
Yep.
because he's not French, they turned it off. And then Australia, he was going to be like pole position. No, he wasn't going to pole position.
No.
He was going to qualify like top 5 ahead of Ocon.
And then it just turned into a nightmare weekend, didn't it?
It was an absolutely awful weekend after that. And then Emilia-Romagna, I don't remember what happened, but he retired.
Mick crashed into him at turn 1, and then when Hamilton overtook him...
Of course. His car fell apart.
His car just... It went complete Renault on him.
And then Miami, he did just cheat.
Yeah. And
so he should have a lot more than 2 points.
I mean, he's said, hasn't he? And I mean, this is part of why I dislike Alonso. He's going, I should have well over 20 points by now. And you're kind of there like, you might have 15 or 20, but I don't think well over 20 points is probably
he's just considering that he was going to stick it on the front row in Melbourne and get 18 points.
Right, okay. Okay.
But yeah, he's got to get more luck at some point. But I think at least a B for Alonso, because especially that Melbourne qualifying, he was absolutely on it.
Yes, yeah. But again, it was the part of the track that really suited the car. Yeah. It's very easy to drive quick down a straight line, especially in that Alpine. I think both drivers are probably worthy of B tier.
I was actually going to give Ocon more praise than you are.
Were you going to put Ocon in A?
He's been so good this year.
I was going to put him top of B.
I don't like Ocon very much. But credit where credit's due, he's been very good. Okay. I think A for Ocon.
Well, we'll put him in A for Ocon, apparently.
Scored points in all but one race.
It's very true, yeah. Fair play to him.
He's actually got top 8s in all the time, like 7th, 6th, 7th, 14th, and 8th. I don't know what happened to Imola. I mean, you were there, so you should know.
Imola, he got screwed, didn't he?
I don't know.
And obviously, again,
oh, yeah, he was stuck in a DRS train.
Yeah, and that fantastic fight back at Miami as well. He did well there, just to keep the nose clean.
Yeah.
Is it Alfa Romeo up next?
It is in 6th in the championship. No, 5th in the championship. Wow, Bottas is doing bits.
Yeah. And he'd almost be doing more bits had he not decided to watch Mercedes in his mirror.
Yeah. Should have got a 5th place there as well.
Yeah.
And Saudi retired from the points. Bottas is... do I want to shout out an S for Bottas? I'm not sure.
No, you do not.
Okay, let's stick with
an A. He's not S. I think again, this is the thing, isn't it, with Bottas, and we kind of spoke about this pre-season. Bottas is a good driver. He's just not a good driver in a top car for some reason.
And he's not Lewis Hamilton.
No, that was the other big thing as well. And bearing in mind, obviously, everyone remembers his last season with Hamilton, when it's probably right up there as the best we've ever seen Hamilton drive, because he got his back pushed up to the wall.
Yeah, 2020 and 2021, Hamilton was on a different level.
Even 2020, I wouldn't argue that much. He got the job done in 2020.
Yeah, he just had to win. He just won for fun, didn't he?
Pretty much. It was just a sort of a have fun and ruin other Formula 1 drivers' lives for a year, basically.
Yeah. But Bottas, I mean, I think I said this last week, but I saw a tweet that was like, this is why we shouldn't just...
give him a one-year deal.
Massively overrate everyone in the midfield. Because if a rookie or someone like... who's never had a shot in a top team, was doing what Bottas is doing in an Alfa Romeo,
we'd be telling him to give him a top team.
Yeah, and we'd be like, get him in a top team.
And he's
going to be a champion.
This is the thing, isn't it? That we always remind people. There's a reason the top drivers are in the top cars. 9 times out of 10.
Because people can tell they're the best. Alonso turns up in a Minardi and then is in a Renault in 3 years. It's like, because he's shown in the Minardi that he's that good.
Yeah.
Same with Russell.
Exactly.
Same with...
there's a reason why Hamilton got a top seat. The reason Verstappen's got a top seat.
And Vettel.
And Vettel now, not really. Leclerc has got a top seat.
His rise is very good.
Yeah, exactly. People don't seem to appreciate the top drivers are that bit better. They've just got that little bit extra, don't they? Which you could really argue, still for 5, 6 drivers on the current grid, I think it's fair to give that shout towards.
Yeah.
So Bottas, I think, A tier is completely fair. He's sort of squashed a lot of the haters' doubts. A lot of people have said, it's the fact he's got a 2 or a 3 year deal, isn't it, this year? It's
just the pressure's off, isn't it?
Exactly. I genuinely believe he's just having a bit of fun, to be honest. He's not. If he
like
crashes
what Kimi
out,
did, but he's got a better car.
I say, if he ends up in an accident with someone, Fred Vasseur might be a little bit unhappy.
But I've never seen Fred Vasseur unhappy.
No, exactly.
So
it doesn't happen.
Possible.
I don't think. Genuinely, I think Alfa Romeo are in quite a comfortable position at the moment where it just seems like they're all having a lot of fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
Money's flowing in from China. It's
Yes.
happy day. Honestly, I think at the moment, genuinely looking at it, if I had to be driving for any Formula 1 team, Alfa Romeo would be right up there at the moment.
Yeah, probably. It'd be a lot of fun.
Bottas, you're going right to the top of A tier, I reckon, mate. No, we'll put him behind K-Mac.
Yeah, that's fair. And Guan Yu Zhou.
Zhou Guan Yu.
Zhou Guan Yu, sorry. Has been incredibly unlucky. And it annoys me a lot.
But
it's
also
okay.
done a whole lot better than I think most of us thought he would. Be honest with me,
including
Jamie.
you.
Including
20th in the championship
including
in the
me.
predictions.
I completely agree. I didn't think he'd be as good as he has. But will you be completely honest with me as well and say, pre-season, you must have been bricking it because you cannot genuinely come to me and say you thought he would be really quick. And to be fair,
he's been very respectable. I think obviously he's not been that close. Like, he's not been matching Bottas, it's fair to say, but he's been less than.
He's been less
3-4 tenths off usually.
Badly behind, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Which again was he kind of got put into a lucky position, didn't he? Where if he was as quick as Bottas, it was going to be there like, well, Bottas is washed up from Merck.
Nah, it would have been Zhou as good as Schumacher.
Well, exactly.
As good as Hamilton, sorry.
But if Zhou wasn't anywhere near Bottas, it was kind of there like, oh, well, Bottas is kind of happy where he is now, so he's delivering again.
Zhou's a rookie.
And Zhou's a rookie. He has done better than I thought he would. Points in the first 2 Grand Prix, wasn't it?
No, only one. He only got 1 point.
Only Bahrain, was it?
Yeah.
He overtook Hamilton as well that race.
He did. He should have got 9th, but a yellow flag came out, so he stopped. He couldn't overtake Alonso.
Yeah, should have got 9th.
Yeah, Saudi, and also that was with the clutch just deciding it wasn't going to work.
Yes, yeah.
For the first 2 races, that was where he qualified respectively, and I think 13th in both races.
Yes.
And then dropped to the back because his clutch just didn't work.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, isn't it, with Zhou Guan Yu, he doesn't look out of place in a Formula 1 car either.
Yeah. And the luck will turn, I'm sure. He got, obviously, unfortunately, got into in the Imola sprint, which ruined the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a bit naive of him, but I don't think it was his fault.
And again, we do kind of give some lenience towards the rookies, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, you kind of have
Miami
to.
as well, he was probably going to get points. It was quite early days, but still.
It was a bit early to call, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, his luck will turn, I'm sure. And he's been doing very well, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I
mean, I'd say at least a C. I'd want to be, but I know you're the one controlling this.
I was going to say, to be honest, if he wasn't a rookie, I would have gone C. But as he's a rookie, I'm willing to put him bottom of B tier.
There we go.
I think he's delivered.
And also,
better than
everyone laughing at my Alfa Romeo pick in the predictions.
Yes.
The championship predictions.
Still a long way to go.
They're actually doing better than I thought.
Yeah.
I put them 6th, and they're currently 5th.
Yeah,
so have that.
Kind of mad, isn't it? Madness. McLaren next.
Next up on McLaren, yeah. They've been really weirdly inconsistent.
Inconsistency has definitely been their consistency, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Bahrain rolled around, and it looked like a disaster, didn't it?
Yeah. Their brakes were gaffer taped up, to be fair. So it was quite hard for them to do anything that weekend. But they were probably the 3rd slowest team.
Yes.
Along with Williams and
Aston.
But yeah, they've picked up since then. Norris has actually got a podium, which I don't think anyone saw after Bahrain.
No, exactly. It's kind of been a similar story to last year, hasn't it, though? As Norris has done pretty well, but time's running out for Ricciardo at the moment.
His stock is dropping fast.
He's dropped as quickly as the UST Luna.
Is it? Yeah, that's the one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened in Saudi to him? I don't actually remember. But he didn't finish.
Oh, was it a crash? No, he was one of the ones. He was one of the 3 that shut down on itself, didn't it?
Yeah.
In one lap.
I don't remember where he was, but I don't think he was on the major points.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So he's definitely not been as good as Norris, but I do think Norris is quite underrated. But also Ricciardo should be doing better.
Yes, Norris
8 times race winner, 9 times.
8 or 9, isn't it? Norris is underrated, but Ricciardo's been in the sport for a decade. At the end of the day, over a decade now. Norris. To be fair, I think looking at it, Norris is probably an A-tier driver so far this year.
Yeah,
that podium, and like we said, I think he's certainly one of those drivers that's in the conversation of different gravy. But we don't quite have the faith of it.
He'll have a championship or 2.
Oh yeah, you'd hope so, wouldn't you? He might sort of end up a bit like Jenson Button, to be honest.
Yeah,
as
we're
in,
sort of waiting for a while.
yeah, George Russell's slightly better, just slightly got that gift. But I think we could see him get a title. I think, to be honest, he might have to accept at some point that McLaren aren't the team they once were.
No.
But it does beg the question is, where could he go?
It's sort of waiting for an opportunity. I think him and Max would be a great team at Red Bull.
I've always said this. Him and Max Verstappen.
But I don't know if he'd want to go to Red Bull with Max, because the team will kind of always be built around him, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see for Norris. But I think for him, definitely A. Because he scored points in 3 out of 5, but then they've been major points every time. And Miami, he could have scraped a couple, but had that instant with Gasly. And yeah, the Bahrain, obviously the car was nowhere. So Norris getting that podium, getting the couple of one top 5 in Australia and another top 5 in a sprint race as well. He's been good.
And the podium in Imola.
Yeah.
Ricciardo, though. I'm looking at C tier, to be honest.
I think, C.
Am I forgetting any good results?
So he basically matched Norris all weekend at Australia, but didn't beat him.
Home race advantage.
He came 6th there. He got 6th in the Imola sprint, and then came 18th in the race.
After he took out Sainz at turn 1.
Remember what happened? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, you were there, so you'd know. He's just not been very good.
No.
And he's going to have to pick it up quite quick, unless he gets another lucky win and banks on that all year.
Oh, don't.
He never left.
No, he didn't. I own these streets, as my teammate laughed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
there we go.
We desperately need
Colton Herta in.
Exactly, or Oscar Piastri. Get him in the
Piastri.
car.
Yeah.
Get him in the
or
car.
Gasly. I see him to McLaren, to be honest.
Next up then, Jamie, let's head down to Mercedes.
Oh, your boys at Mercedes.
Yeah, what a tough year it's been so far. Now, I want to start this off, Jamie, with George Russell. Let's not argue against it. Has been phenomenal.
It's better than people expected. Phenomenal is very strong.
I would argue
because ultimately he has got a lucky safety car in 3 out of 5 races.
Miami was the only really lucky one, though, wasn't it?
And Australia, where he jumped ahead of 2 drivers.
He got ahead of 2 drivers, but he wasn't far away from them prior.
No.
It certainly helped, I completely agree. But
yeah. He's been he's comfortably beating Lewis Hamilton a minute, although I do think that's down to luck.
Like we said, 3 of the 5 races so far, it could have very easily gone either way, couldn't it? So Bahrain, Hamilton was quicker. Jeddah, George was quicker, but Hamilton had a dog-awful setup on the car.
Yeah.
Australia, Hamilton was quicker, but got screwed by the safety car.
Yeah.
Imola, they were pretty close in qualifying, but George had the edge, and then, of course, the race went pretty much as well as it could for George and pretty much as badly as it could for Hamilton.
As far from Hamilton as it could.
Yeah.
They were very similar pace, and George just got P4 and Hamilton got P13.
And then Miami, Hamilton was quicker, but got unlucky with the safety car. I think the point I was trying to make is we can rate George very heavily here, and I think a lot of people are kind of trying to slate Hamilton off so far this campaign. Hamilton has still definitely been right there, though, so I think
rating him the same tier is definitely about right.
It's just the fact we have such high standards for Hamilton, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's...
From his own standards, Hamilton hasn't been brilliant.
For Hamilton's own standards, he's probably putting himself in the C or the D tier at the moment.
Yeah.
But really, I think at worst still, he's got to be A. Would we say? I think...
Yeah, with the car they have.
Yeah, I think sometimes as well what we forget is how close, or it genuinely wouldn't surprise me if completely on raw pace Mercedes had a car. We kind of say they might have a bit of an edge over everyone else in the midfield. I wonder how much of that is just the fact they've got the 2 best drivers in the midfield by a landslide.
I thought you were going to say on the grid for a second there.
I would, especially with how well George has delivered so far this year, I would now argue they've got the best pairing.
They've got one of the top 2.
They've
got one of the top 2 on the grid in Hamilton.
Yeah.
And Russell. They probably do have the strongest.
They've probably now, I'd say, got the strong. I was reluctant to say it pre-season, but with the way Sainz hasn't quite delivered and the way George has, I would argue Mercedes now probably have the strongest lineup. I think.
Yeah.
I want to put them both top of A, just because I think putting them in S.
I think Norris has been better than the pair of them, to be honest, but. Yeah, I think they have to go together because people are writing off Lewis so hard, and I'm not a Lewis fan,
No.
but he has not been as bad as people are making out.
No, he's been very unlucky as well.
Yeah.
I think, do we put them both in A then just behind
I think so,
Lando
yeah.
Norris? I'm willing to accept that. That seems fair to me. Then we move on to our final four then, Jamie. Red Bull first?
Red Bull are second in constructors, yeah.
Yeah, so Red Bull first.
Yeah, Checo Perez has been quietly very good this season.
Yes, yeah.
Quite unlucky.
On a couple of occasions.
Yeah, obviously Bahrain, the reliability was the issue. He would have got
P3.
Well, he should have got P3 if his teammate didn't break down first.
Yeah.
And then should have got No, Sainz was ahead. He would have got P4.
P4, sorry, yeah.
Finished. Yeah.
Jeddah could have won, but again, that one was a little bit of Charles Leclerc and Verstappen kind of brought their A game later on in the afternoon.
But he was leading in the first stint.
He was leading in the first stint.
Safety car screwed him.
A safety car did completely screw him, but I wonder how much, Verstappen and Leclerc were going to up the ante in the second half of that Grand Prix.
But I think definitely would have got a podium there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He was quicker than Sainz.
And he ended up being fourth. But that's his first ever pole position ticked off.
Yeah.
After 11 years in the sport.
Yeah.
Australia, he was just quietly very good. Would have got a podium. Did get a podium, but it would have been third instead of second had Max not retired.
Yep.
Imola 1-2, maximum points all weekend, basically.
Yep, did everything This is the thing with Checo, isn't it? To sum it up, he's done everything he's needed to.
Not bad for a number 2 driver, as someone once said.
The only slip-up we've really seen was that awful attempt at a move on Sainz at Miami.
But then that was down to his car breaking down, which he had to try that, didn't he?
Exactly. He's been unlucky on occasions as well. He's definitely got the job done, hasn't he, this year? And I think now a lot of people, again, it sort of goes back to this old thing of, Sergio Perez is a good midfield driver, but he's never one of the top drivers. And you're sort of like, I think, to be honest, he probably isn't that far away from a lot of real top
He's like the perfect mould for a second driver to one of the best on the grid.
He is exactly what Red Bull need at the moment.
Which is what he's doing.
And you wonder, whether he had a bit more support from the team. Of course, he's had a bit of a say on the car this year and everything like that. It has clearly helped him.
Yeah.
But you wonder sort of how not that far away from Max he would be in completely identical machinery. Not identical machinery, but like identical input.
Treatment.
Yeah. Everything like that. But
yeah.
I think
third in the championship.
He's doing everything he needs to, isn't he? He's got to be a good A-tier driver so far this year. Just behind the two Mercs?
Yeah, sure. I think there's a case to be made for just ahead, but yeah.
He's right there, isn't he, with them? I think so far this year. Verstappen then. He's S tier.
Move on.
I'm not going to argue with that. He's won every race he could, other he hasn't DNF'd. Hasn't put a foot wrong really at all that I can think of. I feel like he does. No, he
other
hasn't.
Than Q3 in Miami.
Other than Q3 in Miami, but then still just completely rectified that. Has probably had the fastest car as well though, but 4 wins out of 4 races you finish. That's S tier. I'm not going to argue against that.
Best driver on the grid.
At the moment, you could certainly make an argument for it.
Wow, I'm clipping that up. There we go. Just the Ferrari boys left.
To Carlos Sainz. What a weird start to the year this has been.
Yeah, because he's shown pace right up to the point of Q3 final runs, usually.
Apart from Imola.
Unravels. Apart from Imola, where, he had a bit of a mess.
He had a mare in Q2.
Yeah, but he's been right with Leclerc until the killer moments.
Yeah, when it really matters and when you sort of need that little bit extra. It's where that little bit extra comes in, Leclerc, you watch him over one lap sometimes and, you can tell by the way Leclerc drives on some of those qualifying laps. You look at Monaco before he crashed. You look at Baku, was it a couple of years ago?
Yeah, Baku, he got pole position last year.
Yeah. You think,
but then
and even like when you watched him through Formula 2, and I watched the clip a couple of days ago, Jamie. I don't know if you remember this of Brazil in 2018, where it started to rain in qualifying, and he still improved. Leclerc, Leclerc is going in S tier, isn't he? Yeah, he hasn't been as good as Verstappen this year, but he's going S tier. It really just is.
Only Imola is the only blot on his card, really.
Yeah, and even that I think was just trying to give it everything for the home crowd.
Yeah,
but Sainz.
Yeah, I think the races outside of Australia and Imola, he probably would be an A. But then you've got to consider those 2 races that were absolutely awful for him.
Yeah, Imola, he messed up in qualifying and then got unlucky at the start, to be fair.
Yeah, but then had he not messed up qualifying, he wouldn't have been in the midfield.
Yeah, but Australia by itself
Australia was
completely takes him
so
anywhere out of S tier conversation straight off the bat.
Absolutely.
By itself.
I think for science, I would lean towards B.
He's either got to be
'Cause,
right at the top of the B or right at the bottom of A, hasn't he, really? But then again, we're then saying, has Bottas performed better than Sainz this year?
I would say he has, I think. If you're looking at 2 DNFs, both of which he had basically full control over.
Not Imola.
But he crashed in qualifying. He crashed in Miami practice. Like, he's making a bit of a habit of touching walls.
Yeah. I think...
Yeah.
He certainly could get himself back into A tier, couldn't he? But 2 DNFs in the first 5
I think
Grand
by
Prix.
the end of the season, hopefully he will be for his sake.
I think, yeah. At the end of the day, we've put Perez in A tier because he's doing everything he needs to in that team. It would be unfair to put Sainz there when he probably hasn't done everything he needed to down at Ferrari.
No.
I think that tier list is looking pretty good, though, Jamie. I think
we've smashed it.
Yeah, I think... I'm sort of looking at Mick Schumacher now going, could he be better than those 2 Aston Martin cars? But I then think that's probably last name bias, to be honest. Looking at it. I think genuinely we've done pretty well there. And like always, because we both know wheel, there weren't really many disputes.
So don't comment what you think, because this is just correct.
Okay, we're being like that, are we? This week. This is Knowing Wheel. We've told you this is how every driver has been so far.
Yeah.
And you're going to listen to it.
This is fact.
Right. Let's just do it then, Jamie. Spanish Grand Prix predictions. Pole position, top 3. I'm going in again first, though.
I'll just ring up Oracle real quick and let me know who they think's going to win. No, Bybit, not Oracle. I keep getting that confused.
I really did wonder where you were going with that, and I thought, has he made a mistake, or has he just tried to be smart? Okay, he's mugged us both off there. I am gonna put faith in Ferrari, which is a stupid thing to do, and I know I keep doing it at the moment, but I am going to say Leclerc, pole and race victory. I know it's getting boring every week, but I am. So top 3 in the race is going to be Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz. Very, very boring, I know, but that's what I'm saying.
We should just reiterate I'm winning at the minute.
Yes, you are, aren't you? What's the score now? Like 20 to 14
16
or something?
No, I'm way more ahead than that. Wait, am I? I can't.
I thought the gap was like 6.
It's 20 to 13.
Is it 7 points? I went far out then.
So I can be a bit braver.
You're going to go K-Mag for the dub, aren't you?
So I will go Leclerc pole.
Oh, he's copying me. Is that your game plan to the end of the year now?
I will go... That would be an amazing game plan, but no, I won't. I will go Verstappen race win.
Oh, that's shocking, isn't it? You've said Verstappen, I've said Leclerc for a race victory. Who would have seen that coming?
I will go Leclerc P2 and a bit of the Checo in P3.
Okay, fair enough. So different.
So also very boring, but there we go.
Different race predictions at the end there. But anything else to add, Jamie, before we get this wrapped up?
I don't think so. I think that's about everything.
No, I think like we said, next few months, we've pretty much now, like we said, got back-to-back races between now and the end of July. So we're going to be very, very busy on the channels. If you are enjoying the podcast, we do thank everyone that somehow made it this far in each and every week. But yeah, like we said though, let us know anyway your thoughts and feelings on our tier list this week. Jamie said this is right. I completely agree with him, but you're more than entitled to your opinion. It's just whether we listen or not. That's terrible.
It's just the wrong opinion.
Exactly. But thank you all so much for watching / listening nonetheless. Actually, we probably just quickly better run through it, shouldn't we, for our audio listeners. We have said the 21 drivers ranking this year goes Verstappen, Leclerc, Lando Norris, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez, Kevin Magnussen, Valtteri Bottas, Esteban Ocon, Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon, Sebastian Vettel, Yuki Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Zhou Guanyu, Daniel Ricciardo, Nico Hulkenberg, Lance Stroll, Mick Schumacher, and Nicholas Latifi.
Yeah.
Pretty good, I reckon. But yeah, like we said though, thank you so much all for listening, and we'll be back next week then, ready to review the Spanish Grand Prix.